Welcome back, everyone. We are talking with Dr. Russell Blaylock about the health and nutrition secrets that can save your life. Fantastic book. This information is so interesting. They're neurological threats to our brain health. Who would have thought? And Dr. Blaylock, we were talking about some of the diseases, the Alzheimer's and some of those diseases, but then we could talk about the psychological, psychiatric type diseases too. And even though I don't think of it as a psychiatric disease, but I think of all the children who are on all the medications to control ADHD. I mean, I don't know right off the top of my head the numbers anymore that Ritalin and those drugs that are being prescribed, but they have got to be in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
It's close to 4 million.
4 million.
America now are on.
I mean, and every year it's more and more and more. You know, teachers are being pressured to give. Teachers are absolutely losing their job. Did you know that? For not prescribing it. They tell the parent, don't bring your child back to school to my classroom until they have a prescription.
And what about our penal institutions, our prisons? They are full. There's no more room. And, Doctor, one of the first things that caught my attention about your work was a video where you discuss criminal behaviors and nutrient deficiencies, food allergies, and this types of thing, even schizophrenia. Would you help us understand that for those of you who have been touched by this type of problem in your family, that there is hope? Help us understand what's going on with these behaviors.
Yeah, in the lecture that I gave, Nutrition and Behavior, which is on the DVD, basically what I demonstrated is that our research now shows quite clearly that what you eat, your nutrition, your exposure to certain toxins, determines how you behave. And that just simple changes in diet could radically change behavior for the good. For instance, they gave just multivitamin to large numbers of criminals in prisons. And they did this in 5 large prisons. And they found in every case, when they gave them this simple supplement and changed their diet a little bit, the number of violent attacks in the prison fell dramatically.
Isn't that amazing?
When they repeated this in other prisons, they got the same effect. Then they tried it in younger people, and they found the same effect. When they tried it in schools, they got the same effect. So we see that no matter what age, this diet effect is so profound in terms of criminal behavior and suicide. One of the side effects they discovered while they were doing this is the number of suicides fell dramatically. And so there's a connection between foods that induce hypoglycemia, like sugar and refined carbohydrates. People who are eating a lot of those tend to have high rates of suicide, high rates of aggressive behavior, and sociopathic
Could this explain,
behavior.
at least in part, why alcohol and drugs of abuse are often connected with crimes? Does it have a neurotoxic effect too? Yeah.
Yeah, the alcohol, in particular, what it does is it blocks glutamate receptors. When they come off of the alcohol, the glutamate receptors overactive, and then they have very violent behavior.
Yes.
And if they're repeatedly doing this, priming those brain cells and the glutamate receptors, they fall into this pattern of addiction because of a certain area of the brain that also uses glutamate, called the nucleus accumbens, that's associated with addictive behavior. Every kind of addiction, whether it's addiction to pornography or drugs or alcohol or just behavioral addictions, that nucleus seems to be involved. And if you increase the glutamate, the addiction gets worse. If you block the glutamate, the addiction gets better or disappears. So we know that dietary intake of glutamate is going to increase addictive behavior. And so that leads to drugs. And then once they get on the drugs, many of these drugs are excitotoxic, like the ecstasy. And the Ritalins and the
methamphetamines.
Methamphetamines are powerful excitotoxins.
It's just a plague that's it's overcoming our country. It's terrible what's happening.
They're very powerful excitotoxins in the brain, and a lot of these people end up with Parkinson's disease as they get older because the excitotoxic effect of that drug destroying that part of their brain leads them to have Parkinson's.
All right, let's try to sum this up. Nutrient deficiencies, poor diets, a lot of sugar, a lot of junk food, inflammatory fats. We've talked before about this concept. These things affect our brains and our mind.
Your behavior.
And if one of these terrible situations is in your life or your family, there are steps you can take. Now, in your book, Health and Nutrition Secrets That Can Save Your Life, what a beautiful title, because these are things that do save lives. Do you go into the concepts of how to help people with these types of problems? Yes?
Yes, I go through all the nutritional things
okay.
and the supplements that we know that help, how to change your life so that you're going to avoid a lot of these bad events in your life. And that's what happens is because we don't know these things, because they're secret, it destroys our health, it destroys our families. And
well, we're not learning this from our family doctor in the nightly news.
No.
It's not on the news.
No, well, it's not taught in medical training.
No.
Or medical schools. So your physician generally does not know. I even had people who were alternative specialists who called me their big names in the field and asked me, is there any literature on how nutrition could affect behavior? And I said, sure, there's a lot.
There's a lot, yeah.
But here, they knew about a lot of these nutritional things, but they had no idea it could affect behavior. So, you know, this is not something widely known, but the research is very strong in demonstrating this. It's simple measures. They even measured objectively, like EEGs in juveniles that were juvenile delinquents, and measured the effect of different nutrients and could see changes in their EEGs with just a couple of nutrients. So we know that some very bad things in the brain can get better just by changing diet and using nutrients.
Okay, doctor, here's a typical case where a person says, well, you know, I'm not taking drugs, I don't drink, I eat healthy, I take my vitamins, I get a good diet. However, I've lived in a house that has lead paint, painted before 1970, and I'm wondering if heavy metals are playing a role in my declining mental health. What about the mercury? What about the fluoride in our drinking water? Cadmium, lead, aluminum. Are these hidden toxins?
Oh, exactly. And what we've discovered about metal toxins is that the concentration necessary to bring these deleterious effects about is infinitesimally small.
It doesn't take much, does it?
We used to think, for instance, lead, when they first became concerned about lead in gasoline, they said, oh, you know, you can get hundreds of micrograms of lead before it's toxic. Now they have found that less than 5 micrograms can produce these behavioral changes. Now, what does lead do in terms of behavior? Large studies, numerous studies have shown small doses of lead can induce violent behavior, aggressive behavior,
it can even cause
suicide.
Criminal behavior?
Exactly.
Oh, my word.
Now, one of the effects of fluoride, this shows how metals interact. Fluoride in your water leaches the lead out of the pipes, particularly the connections, the faucet, doubles the lead concentration in the water. And so they did a study of 400,000 children living in areas that had fluoridated water versus not. Found out not only did the lead increase, but the number of suicides and violent behaviors also increased dramatically. This has been repeated and shown to be true. So just fluoridating the water, which has almost no health benefits whatsoever, none whatsoever, all deleterious effects, yet we're encouraging fluoridation of water. It's raising lead levels. The fluoride itself is brain toxic, lowers IQ, and we know that from numerous studies, and yet we keep doing it.
Yes.
Mercury in very small concentration. In fact, the toxicologists have said there is no known safe dose of mercury.
Folks, as you read through Health and Nutrition Secrets, you'll soon determine these are not just opinions of Dr. Blaylock. It is well researched and documented. When we return from this break, I want to talk about vaccines. Could they be damaging your health or helping your health? We'll have that when we return.